All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our first Eastern Canada BC Meetup. This is an event that we will want to be running on a monthly basis. So this is our January 2025 installment. We're fortunate to have a guest speaker today, Floyd Chan, as well as Liz Hallen, to provide a little bit more context and background on DUG and all the exciting things that are happening there.
Mhm.
We're I'm Andrew Good, and along with Claude, we are your co-hosts for this event and the series this year. So if you do have questions or follow-ups or favorite topics you'd love to share with the group, please let us know. And with that, Liz, I'm going to move forward to you.
Fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you, Andrew and Cloud, for bringing us all together as a larger Eastern Canada group. My name is Liz Hallen. I am a team member here at Dynamics User Group. And before we get kicked off today with the amazing content I know you are all here to hear about, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the DUG Meetup program as well as who is Dynamics User Group. Before we jump into that, I just wanted to briefly touch on our rules of engagement for our event, as well as all events in our space, is just to be courteous. And everybody here is welcome. We are here with the purpose and point of educating all of you on the core business applications. And we would expect and assume that you are feeling comfortable being here. Your purpose here is to grow your network and really not meant to be any sort of sales pitches or recruiting efforts. But if you have any concerns, certainly let myself or any of our wonderful leaders know. Would love everybody's participation as well. That's what makes these meetings great. If you want to go to the next slide, Andrew.
Yes.
If you have not heard of Dynamics User Group, we are a free community. We offer multiple different programs, both online and in person. Our DUG Meetup program, which is one of the virtual events you're joining today, is just one of those many programs. We do support all of the Dynamics 365 products, Dynamics GP, as well as the Power Platform. Your membership is free as an individual, and you're welcome to join us at dynamicsusergroup.com. We have online forums, we offer webinars, we have DynamicsCon, which is our annual conference. We have a list of really great services and solution providers from our ISVs and partners. We have training classes through SkillUp. We have a very robust YouTube channel as well with tons of education and even including recordings like DUG meetups that you're on today. So we'll get this recording posted onto our YouTube channel in case you want to go back and reference it, or if you have teammates that weren't able to join, that will be available for you on our YouTube channel. On our next slide, I think we, in addition to our DUG meetups, we have what they're called regional meetups. These are a little bit larger in scope and are held within the US, Canada, and this year around the globe, actually. Today we're hosting our Southeast regional event in Tampa, Florida, but are also looking to host one. We're actually going to be looking at March for the Northeast now. We're going to be back in Canada in Toronto in June to see all of you. We're going to then head over to Africa in July, Colorado in August, Ohio in August, and Texas in September. So if you're in or near those, these are free full-day educational events. And we would love to have all of our community members join us in person if you're able. And our large annual conference is DynamicsCon, which is this year going to be held the week of May 13th in Chicago, Illinois. We're very excited about this. This is
Sorry.
our fifth annual. Registration is open now. We are in the process of reviewing our session submissions. We had hundreds of them. Our wonderful volunteer programming committee is picking those now, and we're hoping that our agenda will be released next week. So stay tuned for that. Sign up for your membership to get notified when it is ready.
All
And
right.
I will turn it back to Andrew, who I believe will be introducing your educational speaker for today.
Yes, like to introduce Floyd Chan, who will be walking us through today's presentation. Floyd will provide a little bit more background, but we're fortunate to be able to take advantage of Floyd's 20 plus years working with Business Central, Nav, Navision, and surrounding products. And Floyd is the president of the Kixis group. Floyd, I'm going to stop my screen share and hand it to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. Give me a moment here. Let me just get the screen share happening. Perfect. And Andrew, can you just confirm that that is now showing?
You're good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, all right. Welcome everybody to 40 Tips in 40 Minutes for Business Central Finance. Now, this particular session, we are going to be covering a lot of ground, and there is a lot of tips that start off kind of basic. So there's probably people here in this group that have actually not been in Business Central for very long, so maybe still getting their sea legs. And there's probably a few of you who are probably quite seasoned and are very familiar with Business Central and also finance as well. But I'm more than sure that there's probably a few tips hiding in here that you'll probably find interesting. So a little bit for everybody, I hope. Let me just make sure I'm getting this to work here. I think I have to click there. There we go. A little bit about myself. I'll just leave that up while you read it. I'm not going to spend any time on this just because we're time constrained. I will say this, though. I actually am a bit sick. I had a really bad cold over the holidays, and I'm actually just getting over it. So I'm hoping that my cough is not going to kick in and slow me down. I may go off for a few seconds to take a sip of water, but I guess I'll get penalized in terms of time. But hopefully we'll be able to get through everything as quickly as I can. And on that note, let's talk a little bit about what are we going to cover. As you can see, lots of different things to discuss. Again, a bit of a finance focus, but there is a lot of general information here as well. And even with this general information, I find that often getting a little bit of a refresher is good. There are times I find that you use the application, but you tend to forget even the simple things. So we'll quickly go through a number of those topics at the very beginning as well. Oh, by the way, I also recognize that as I was putting this together and after we published this, there is a mistake in here. Point number 24, I'm actually going to remove and replace it with something else. Point 24 turned out it was a bug from a while ago. Microsoft did resolve it, so therefore there's nothing to talk about. But I will replace it with another thing at point number 24. So get to that shortly. So let's go over what we need to do for today. This is going to be me walking through Business Central. You're going to see Business Central on the screen. It is going to be Business Central 25, the latest release. And in this particular case, it is running in an Azure container. Don't worry about what that means. It looks a whole lot like your SaaS environment. It just happens to be set up in a separate environment that I have control over. So don't worry about that. But in any case, it is the latest version of Business Central. And therefore, if you're on older versions of Business Central, you might not have all these features and functions that we'll go through. But again, take note of it. Might be interesting for you to go back, talk to your users and partner about how do you get this functionality and how do we go about putting it into our environment. Don't blink. 40 tips in 40 minutes. We're going to be going real fast. I highly recommend you grab a notepad, scrap piece of paper, and as we go through and you find something very interesting, write down the tip number that we're going through, make your notes, and then later you can go back and reference the video and or the slide decks in order to reference back to what it was that you were taking notes for. Please mute your microphones. I think they already are muted by default. And usually when I'm doing this kind of presentation live, I ask everybody to hold the questions in this case because the mics are muted. Not an issue. believe Claude's going to be on the chat. So if you want, you can pose your questions in the chat, but bear in mind, we're going fast. So I don't know if you're going to have time to fully type in your question and be able to keep up. But if you so wish, the chat is available. I'll be around for a Q&A afterwards. I think we have a few minutes at the end of the session. We'll see what we can do. Otherwise, myself, Claude, and Andrew are available for answering questions via email or any other format that you so wish afterwards. And ultimately, I'm hoping to present these, even though it's 40 minutes, 40 tips, I'm hoping not to sound like an auctioneer. So I want to make sure that we're going to talk about these tips in a perspective of end user usability and what does it mean to you, and hopefully these do prove to be useful in the end. All right, so having said all that, is everybody ready? Do you have your pieces of paper ready? Do you have the ability to take notes? I am actually just turning on my phone here. So this is a stopwatch just so that I can keep track of where I am. I am going to turn off my camera just so that I'm not distracting that way. And also because I might be coughing and muting my microphone. I don't know if I want to catch a video of myself coughing later. So having said that, let's move into demo time. All right, so let me close off this presentation. Let me shut that down. And what I have on the screen is Business Central. Let me just refresh it so that it's up and running. And I'll just log in just to make sure that we are working here. Yep. And because it's my own environment, I have a super secret password of Floyd and Floyd. Let that warm up and we'll get ready to go. There we go. All right. On that note, I am going to click on start on my phone here, and I will turn off my camera as I mentioned. Let me just see how I go about that. Doing that, I just need to go back to my Zoom environment. I apologize. Just give me a second. Actually, I don't know. Andrew and Claude, can you do that remotely? I'm just having a hard time finding my actual dashboard for video for just turning off my screen. Oh, not my screen, my image. There we go. Thank you. All right. Yep. Thank you. All right. Okay. Let me just reset and start. Okay. Let's start. First things first. Point number one, search. This is quite straightforward, but often if you're new inside Business Central, you may not know how to find things, and you might not be familiar with the menu structures or how your role centers work, etc. So the easiest way to get started, especially if you don't know where things are, or you're actually trying to access something that's outside of your normal area of work, use the search window, right? And the nice thing about search, so that's the little magnifying glass up at the top, is it's pretty smart. So for example, if I was looking for chart of accounts, first off is it's actually very smart in knowing that, first of all, syntax errors, typing errors, it'll actually notice that I typed in the word cart and it figured out it's chart. And if I actually type in ACC, so it does partial searches, there's the actual chart of accounts. So it's really good in terms of finding anything that matches these pieces of text. You can also say show all to see more if there's more things that match. And later, we're going to explore a little bit more about what is here. Next, what we can also do is we can also do a search for company data. In here, if we don't find the data, actually, I just realized I'm missing this one. Okay, I might have to skip this one, and I'm going to have to come back to this one, so I apologize. But what I will do is I'll move on. So this is tip 2 now that we're moving on to. I'm going to look up for items, and in this case, what I want to do is I want to do a bookmark for now. So there's items. Oh, there's an item list, and what I want to do is bookmark it. Now my mouse is not working properly. There we go. And you'll see there's a little icon off here to the right. I've now bookmarked it. When I bookmark something, it actually adds it to my menu. So you'll see here, there's items that did not exist here before. So very useful. Next, there might also be things outside of your functional area and role center that you might want to explore, or you might actually want to know, even within my role, what do I have access to? Off to the upper right here, we have the Explore menu. So we'll click on this, and this currently is showing me logged in as an accountant. So my role is accountant, and these are all of the different pieces of functionality that I have access to by default in this role. But there might be other things inside Business Central that I'm also interested. So if I want to see everything that's in Business Central, I can click on Explore All, and now I can see all areas inside Business Central. And if I wanted to see everything in case it's a collapse, I can click on here and say Expand All and expand everything, and or filter it down so that if I only want to see reports and analysis items, I can click on this, or only those things around administration, meaning setup or lookup tables. I can also look up administration. All right, let's move on to number 4, drill down. So if we go do a look here, let's say I want to take a look at customers. So I'll go to a customer. And in this particular case, what I'm going to do is pick on one of my favorite customers, which is the School of Fine Art. So I'll open up the card for this particular customer. And in here, what we have is the balance $, which is the customer open balance in local currency. But what I want you to note here, and especially for new users, notice 3 things. This field, first of all, is non-editable. It's in gray. Number 2, it's a number. Okay, so there's a number in this non-editable field, and there is an underline when I hover over this number. This indicates that this field is a calculated field. This field doesn't actually have a real number in it. So where is this calculating from? Once you click on that actual number with the blue underline, meaning it is a drill down, this will open up, in this case, the customer ledger entries for all the open customer ledger entries. And in fact, that balance $, was a sum of the remaining amount column from this underlying table. So that's really cool. Okay, drill downs on flow fields. In this case, we went into customer balance. That's number 4. Let's talk about number 5. From here, we're going to take a look at find entries. So over here, there's a button up at the very top. Find entries in the older versions of Business Central NAV was called Navigate. And what it does is it takes whatever I am pointing at. So let me see here. Let's take this second customer ledger entry. And if I click on Find Entries, by default, it's going to look throughout my entire system for all matching entries with the same posting date and document number. So actually, if I scroll back across to the left, so you can see what the document number is. There it is. It's a PS, there, my mouse is choking again, PS 103-196. So let's say find entries. Let's go ahead and take a look. And now you can see all the related entries in the environment. For example, 13 GL entries that were created from this posting, and also 1 posted sales invoice as an example. I can click on that one. Notice again, it is a number with an underline. It's a hyperlink, and it takes me to the actual single posted sales invoice, the one that was indicated on the page before. And again, this is the actual document that created that customer ledger entry. All right, let's back out of this. Number 6, page 6, page search. So this is something new that was just added to the latest version of Business Central, number 25, which released this past fall. I'm hitting escape, and I'm just going to go back to where I added my items as a bookmark here, because I will be using items throughout this presentation. And up here, there's the magnifying glass for search, and you'll notice that there's a drop down next to the search. what you'll see here is now they've added this thing called modern search. So I'm going to start off first with the legacy search so you can see what the behavior was before. And what I'm going to do in here is type in the search box. And if you scroll mentally in the list, you'll see that there's a London swivel chair. So if I type in LOND, you notice that it'll filter down to the London chair. If I actually type in swivel, S-I-W, there you go, partial words. So it found all the items with the word swivel. Let me type in blue, just as an example. Okay, so it finds everything that's blue in my environment, right? But watch what happens when I type in London chair, L-O-N-D-C-H, sorry, C-H. Nothing comes up. All right, that's interesting. Note that. All right, but if I type in things like hour, it actually finds everything that has hour. So what's going on? It's doing a search in every field where it can identify data. And in fact, it'll even look in numerical fields. Like if I type in 4280, it finds the item with the unit cost of 4280, right? Let me switch over to modern search. Okay. Now with a modern search, what happens? A modern search introduced in this latest version of BC only looks at text fields, but it's optimized so it's very fast, and it will also look for partial string searches with multiple terms. So it's more useful in certain cases. So once again, let's just quickly go through this. I'll just once again do a search. Let's once again just quickly do London. That works. Let's do swivel. That works. All right, if I do blue, that works. Okay, if I do London chair, that works. That didn't work before, right? I typed in hour, so that it's looking in under the other columns. Okay, in this case, does not work because that is not a column that is marked for this modern search. And same thing, I can't type by that dollar amount 4280 because again, the modern search is optimized just for text fields. All right, let's continue. Hint number 7. Let's talk about minimizing pop-ups. So one of the things that may appear is notifications and teaching tips. So how can we minimize some of those things? To do that, we can go under settings. So my settings up here at the top. And as you can see, first of all, teaching tips. If you already understand how things work, you might want to turn those off. Right, so I'm going to keep it off for our session. Also, you might receive a lot of notifications, and this was designed by Business Central in order to help a lot of users understand how processes work. So for example, you may be creating a sales order and escaping out of it because you're not done, but it may turn out Business Central by default will pop up a message to say, essentially, are you sure you want to close? You might be annoyed by that message. In here, you can actually turn off some of those suggested notifications. So there's a whole list in here for you to review and turn off the ones that you find annoying, keep the ones that you think are important. Let's get out of that. Let's talk about number 8, tip number 8, maximize screen space. So to do this, we're going to go into the customer list. And let's just quickly talk over here. We have tiles. So this idea of tiles, we can switch from a list, right, over to the tiles that you saw before. And you can also go to tall tiles, again, depending on what it is that you want to see and the kind of information that you want to see. This fact box pane also contains a lot of information about the customer that you've selected. And again, might be interesting to you, might not be. And if you don't want this, you can also just collapse the fact box over here, the info pane, by just selecting that I. Let's go into a customer card. All right. First off is if you're using a wide screen and maybe you want to use the entire real estate of your screen, you can also use this, the wide layout view. So by default, I already had it to wide, but here you could go narrow if you wanted to do that for some reason. Within the actual card, we have these tabs, and you can actually click on the tabs and collapse them if you so wish, depending on what you want to see. And otherwise, within each tab, there may also be more information that actually has been hidden from you in order to, again, save real estate. If you want to see all the fields within that tab, there's also this show more, and you can do that. One other tip that I have for you that a lot of users I find will contact me. They'll say, Floyd, what if I want to see two screens at the same time? How do I do that? Well, here's what you can do. You can simply come up here on your browser tab and duplicate it. And then what I like to do is simply pull that tab off and then actually stick it to one side of my screen, so like that. And then I can actually select the other screen, and now I have side by side. Okay. By the way, good story is that's one session, doesn't consume another license. Right. Let me kill this duplicate one. And yeah, the two can work independently if you want. All right, let's talk about number 9. Let's sort a list. Okay, so to do this, let's go into our item list. And in this case, I'll get rid of the info pane, just have more real estate. Anytime you want to sort, simply go up to the, and this works for lists, up in the header, just simply click on the header once to sort. So you can say ascending, or you can actually click again to say descending, go the other way, right? So you can see the actual numbers, right? So let me just sort again to go ascending. And there you go. And what you see now is actually by default, there's a whole bunch of items with no vendor number, and then we get to the 1000s. So you might be wondering, well, how does it sort within the vendor number in this case? And that answer is by primary key. So the primary key is by item number. So it's sorting by vendor number first, then by item number. All right, next, let's talk about perhaps there might be other fields that you want to filter to. So for example, let's say you're here on this particular line and you see that the type is service, and I want to filter for everything that's service. Well, you could actually come up here to the header and you can say filter this value. And that filters everything down to that particular chosen line and column value. Let me clear this filter. And now we'll have everything back to where it was before. All right, so let's come in here and let's say we want to sort all of this and we want to find an item number, but we actually don't know where it is in here. So you can actually use the filter pane. So up here, we'll click on this, open up the filter pane. And what we're going to do is add a filter. In this case, I'm going to look for a vendor number. So actually, I'm going to look for a vendor, let's see, a vendor item number. So vendor, and my typing is a bit slow here. There we go, vendor item number. And the item number that the vendor uses, in this case, is perhaps ADG 4577. And there it is. There's my item that matches that particular item. So you can actually quickly filter things down. All right. Also, there might be cases where maybe you're looking for more than one thing. How do I find more than one thing that is based on this field? So in this case, I found one item based on one item number. If I want two item numbers, two vendor item numbers, you can use the pipe. So the pipe symbol is the shift backslash, I believe. And in this particular case, I'm also going to look for another vendor item number 45888, for example. There it is. So I found two. And of course, I'm not sure if the field is exposed, but if it was, you would see that each one has one of those numbers, right? And I apologize. I should be calling out these numbers. We're on number 12 at this point. All right, I've applied a filter. And what if I want to save this? Tip number 13, save the view. All right, so what you can actually do is, let's say I want to reuse this filter for whatever reason, because in the future, I want to come back in here and just reapply it. So I can simply click on that save icon that's in this filter pane and give it a name. So in this case, I'll call it 2 items. And now I have that particular choice. So if I now reset my filters, And let me eliminate this one. Again, my mouse is being a little persnickety and slowing me down. There we go. There we go. Excellent. Okay, so I've removed the filter. Everything's back. Notice my saved filters are still here. I can apply the 2 items and it should reappear. There we go. Excellent. Okay, tip number 14, share a view. Any kind of screen that you're looking at, even with filters applied, basically all of that is part of the URL. So if I actually take this URL with the filter applied, and actually just notice, I don't know why the filter is not applying, but anyway, we'll move forward. I can copy that URL. I can send it to somebody, and they can simply paste that URL into a browser or click on it, and it will take them to the exact screen and filters applied that you were looking at. And of course, depending on whether they have security rights, they'll be able to get to the same place where you were. That was tip number 14. Tip number 15, see all fields. All right. Oh, there we go. Just for some reason, it just wasn't refreshing. Tip number 15, see all fields. Now, you'll notice that I'm just going to hide this filter pane. And if I scroll across on this particular item list view, there's a bunch of fields that are being displayed, but not all fields are being displayed. So what if I also want to see other values for this particular record and it's not on this view? Assuming that you have rights, you can use the inspect pages and data. So to do that, we come up here, we click on the question mark, we can go into the help and support. And from here, we can select the inspect pages and data. And now, if I just simply remove this pane for now, we are now looking at this particular record and every field and its value associated with that field for that particular record. So even if it's not being displayed, you can see all the data, right? And not only that, it will tell you what the field number is and the actual data type that's actually inside that particular field. All right, let's move on. Tip number 16, quick entry. So let's say you're creating a sales order, and I'll just quickly go there and let's grab a sales order. And as you know, when you're creating a sales order and you're filling in the header, there could be a lot of fields. And a lot of users, when they're focused on data entry, maybe they're not interested in filling out every single field that is available here. So in this case, let's say I type in School of Fine Arts, and if I hit tab, it goes to contact. And if I hit tab, it's going to go to document date and so on, right? And let's just say, I don't want to have to tab through every one of these fields. Maybe what I actually want to do is be able to jump over fields and only fill the ones that I want. How do I do that? What you want to do is set up what's called quick entry. So what you want to do is come into this particular page and personalize it. When you personalize this, what will happen is you can actually go to a field, and as you can see, there's a little red menu choice here. And again, let me just see if I can click on that. Mouse is being persnickety again. Give me a second. It's giving me the actual drill down, which is not what I want. 1 second, let me see if I can get my mouse to home in. There we go. Okay, and what you can see now is you can either include it or exclude it from quick entry. So what this means is right now this field is excluded from quick entry. Now you might be wondering, well, I saw you tab through this. Why did it go to that contact field? Well, let me jump ahead. By the way, so you can go through field by field and set the include or exclude. Let me just set this as done. Let me just go back to the actual, here we go, header. The key here is instead of using tab, hit enter. So I'm going to hit enter instead of tab, and it should, it's because those are still included, okay? And basically when you hit tab, it will jump over anything that's excluded. Let me move on. Keyboard tips. Number 17, F8, copy from above. This works in anything that is in a journal or list view or document line structure. So basically you're going to have lines, and then what you're going to have is the ability to enter other lines underneath it. And what you want to do is have the ability to bring down a value from a previous line into the current line. The trick is hit F8. So I'm moving into a general journal, default batch in this case, and let me just put in something here just real quick. So 1 second. Again, my mouse is misbehaving on me, which is not what I expected. In any case, let me tab over here, and let's say we put in an amount of 10, doesn't matter. I'm on my second line, and let's just say I want to copy down, in this case, maybe the account number or the account name or something. F8 copies from above. So F8, there it is. And in this case, let's say my first line here happened to say development expenditure 2. Sorry, that would be in description. There we go. There we go. And if I was on line 2, hitting F8 copies from above. There we go. Tip number 18, keyboard shortcuts. A couple versions back, what Microsoft did was introduce the ability to use shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, a lot more. It used to be that everything was very mouse-driven in this environment. To get to keyboard shortcuts, you click the Alt button. So when I click the Alt button, what you'll see is a bunch of letters pop up that allow me to hit other letters in order for me to get to my menu choice. Notice J is the next letter for everything in the top row. So if I hit J, and notice Z is to go home into Cronus USA, for example, and off to the right, JX takes me to the Explorer page. So as an example, I will hit JP. So I already clicked on Alt to call up the shortcuts. I will now press J, and now I'll press P, and that takes me to posted documents, and I can continue to click through to get to more places. Keyboard shortcuts. All right, next. There might be scenarios where you need to change your work date. Tip number 19. So a work date is all about the idea that by default, the system thinks it's today and you're doing work today. But there might be cases where either you need to work in the past or in the future as far as the system is concerned. And therefore, what you want to do is set the work date. And for the lifespan of the session that you're in, the work date will apply for everything that you do. So to set the work date, back up here on the settings button, you go into My Settings, and here is the work date. By the way, this is demo data, so this is why it's showing as April the 7th, 2025 as my work date. But for whatever reason, if I wanted to work in the past or in the future, I would just simply come in here and change the date. All right, next. 20, copy and paste into a journal. Yes, you can actually copy and paste data into a journal. So in this particular case, I'm going to go into my general journal. And in this case, I'll pick up my default journal. And as you can see, those are the 2 entries that I created before. So just give me a quick second. I'm just going to delete these 2. So I'll just come in here, delete this line, and I'll just say yes. And I'll delete this line and say yes. All right. So to make this work, pay attention to the column names: posting date, document type, document number, account type, account number, amount. What you need to do is basically create an Excel spreadsheet that has the same columns in the same order. You don't have to have all of the columns. You have to have whatever is leftmost in the same order. You can't leave any out. So this matches the actual order that I have in my journal. And what I'm going to do is just simply highlight the lines. This is important. Highlight the lines, not the area. And I'll do a copy. And what I'll do is I'll go back to my journal. And off in the margin, what I'm going to do is select the first line. I just clicked on that little arrow there, and I'm doing a Control V for paste. There we go. Copy and paste into a journal. By the way, that also works for sales lines, document lines, etc. All right, Next, let's talk about recurring journals. So if you were to create this journal, general journal, and you post it, of course, once it's posted, all the lines disappear. But there might be times where you actually want to have a journal that you can reuse, especially if it's for recurring types of transactions. So to do that, we have inside Business Central the idea of recurring journals. And in this case, it's going to be recurring general journals. Let me grab this one. So we're on tip 21, by the way. And I do see I'm falling a bit behind, but I'll try to continue. All right. In this particular case, we have a recurring journal all set up, ready to go. And oh, actually, it's the wrong one. 1 second. Let me just change my batch. I have one here called default. We'll come back to this one in a moment. There we go. So I have here a bunch of entries. And what I'm going to do here is go ahead and post this recurring entry. Also notice that it has this idea of recurring frequency. How often does it happen? And it's ready to go to be posted as of this posting date. So I'm going to go ahead and post this. Do I want to post? Yes. Successfully posted. And in this particular case, you might have seen it's there's rent for account 60,110. Let's just quickly go there. There we go. And what I'm going to do is just drill into this. And there you'll see there's my entry. It actually went through. Recurring journals. Okay, going back to the journal, what you'll also notice is the next posting date has been updated and it's ready for posting for the next entry. Next, tip number 22. In recurring journals, using the descriptions. Notice here what I have is under the document number, I have this %3, and that under here under the description, there's a %4. And when I posted it, you may have noticed it actually said rent leases January. The %4 is a placeholder to represent the month name. So here's what's interesting is there used to be documentation from Microsoft on this particular placeholder, number 1 for day, 2 for week, 3 for month number, 4 for current month name, and 5 for accounting period even. For whatever reason, I just checked this morning. It doesn't seem like this documentation is still in Learn. They seem to have removed it or moved it somewhere else. In any case, I can make this available to people afterwards if you're interested. It really helps clarify when you're doing recurring journals, extra information, so it makes it more sensible. All right. Let's go back and let me just close out this. I realize I've got 2 open. There we go. All right. Let me go back to home. All right. Next, tip number 23, use recurring journals as a checklist. So back to recurring journals. And of course, it would help if I spell it correctly. So one of the things that you can do, because you have these posting dates listed within it, you can also come in here and review what's been posted and when. And what you can actually also do is perhaps make batches and maybe even, as I've done here as an example, give it a prefix that helps you understand what you need to process and when. So use this perhaps as a way to organize what you have to post when. That was tip number 23, using it as a checklist. Date formulas. All right, so this is tip number 24. That's a replacement for the other one that I had. This is something I find very useful, right? And that's this formula right here. And the reason why I want to call it out is because Microsoft, if you go to their site, will actually suggest 2 different ways of calculating the last day of next month, if that happens to be the thing that you're interested in calculating. In this particular case, Microsoft, if you go to their site, one of the ways that they will do calculation, they will actually suggest that you use this particular date math. sorry, it's actually 1 month minus 1 day. There we go. That's one of the two that they suggest. All right. And if you think about this, if you start with a posting date of the last day of the month, like in this case, January 31st, if you add 1 day to it, takes you to February 1st, and you go forward by 1 month, takes you to March 1st, and then you subtract 1 day, takes you to February 28th. That works. It absolutely works. However, it's totally dependent on the fact that your starting date, the date that you're calculating, is the end of the month. If you actually have a different date than the end of the month here, in other words, if you imagine that was January 15th, that would not work. January 15th plus 1 day is January 16th, plus 1 month is February 16th, less a day is February 15th. That doesn't work, right? So I highly recommend you do not use this, even though it's one that Microsoft suggests. Stick to this one, which is with the one that I had, which is 1M plus current month. That one will always work for calculating the end of next month, regardless of whatever the starting date is. Okay, very useful. That was tip number 24. That is calculating end of next month, the replacement tip. Number 25, reversing recurring journals. So there could be situations where you might need to, and in this case, I'm already here, you may need to basically do some sort of accrual. And in this particular case, I have an entry here for an interest expense accrual. And if I actually look at the allocations, you can actually see the balancing side of it, right? And what happens in the case of a reversing accrual entry is it will actually post as of this day. And what it will do is automatically also enter a reversing entry on the following day, 1 day after this posting date. So let me go ahead and post this. Do I want to post this? Yes. Okay. That's actually successfully posted. Let me escape out of here. Let me go to chart of accounts. And I believe that was account number 6700. There we go. And let's just take a look at what's there. Yes, I probably could have used a filter. All right, 6,700. No, 67,200. There we go. Interest expense. Was that the one I posted to? All right, I will have to take a look to see where I posted it to. We'll come back and review this one later. All right. Let's continue in light of time. Reversing a journal entry. In this particular case, I'm going to go back into chart of accounts. And I am going to look for, I believe we posted one of our recurring journal entries, and that should have gone into, I believe we had rent, which is account number 6110, 6110. Here we go. Drill into it. There we go. There's the that first recurring entry that we posted. And at any point, if you want to reverse out an entry, simply drill into the ledger entry. Up at the top is reverse transaction. Click on that. It will reveal to you all of the parts of the entry. Click reverse at the top if you actually want to reverse it. After reviewing it, say yes. And at this point, this is now reversed. And in fact, you can see there's the reversed entry. If I scroll across, we should see the reversing amount. That was tip number 26, reversing a journal entry. All right, next. Number 27, before you post. Simple math in amount fields. So anytime you have a field that has the ability for you to enter a number in, for example, I'm going to jump back into a journal for a moment. And if I come in here and jump over here into an amount column, you can do math So in this, I'm going to type in 100, and I'm going to type plus 25. And if I hit enter, it goes to 125. Right? So you can do math, plus, minus, divide, multiply, all of those work here. I'll just move that back to 100. And that was tip number 25, simple math. Number 28, preview test posting. So in this particular case, what you might want to do to understand what is going to happen when you post, you can come up here to the post button. Next to it is a drop down. There's a preview posting. And what you can then see is the potential impacts before you post. So if I was going to post, these are the GL entries that would occur, and you can review to make sure that they all make sense to you. Tip number 29, block from direct posting. Your balance sheet GL accounts that are control accounts, meaning any of your balance sheet accounts that are tied to subledgers, like your AR, your AP, your inventory, your bank, they should match your underlying subledger entries to the penny. And to do that, what you want to do is go to any of those control accounts and ensure that the direct posting is turned off. Give me a moment here. I just want to see. Okay, so that's not the case. And this is a demo database, and I do not actually like it in terms of the account structure, but this is the one that comes out of the box for demo purposes. So I typically have to scroll around a little bit to find where that is. So here we are, we have an AR account, and this likely has subledgers tied to it. And what you want to do is disable the direct posting. So all postings must go through the subledger, and therefore this GL account will be updated through posting through the subledger, and therefore the balances will always tie in 100%. Tip number 30, as part of audit trails, let's talk about source codes. So Microsoft and Business Central provide to you a whole bunch of source codes. So source codes help you identify where things were posted from when you're doing an audit. So in here, what you'll see is there's a number of codes by default that are already populated, and it tells you basically the kind of transaction that can occur. And in some customized environments, your custom processes may also have custom source codes. Once you have those source codes set up, there is, or listed, there is a source code setup. Let me just go there. There we go, source code setup, which basically takes those codes and now assigns them to the actual transaction in the system, right? So that's source code setup. Once this is all set up, then what we want to do next is talk about registers. So registers inside Business Central, tip number 31. And again, would help if I typed correctly. Okay, what we're going to do is we'll focus first on GL registers. Oh, no, sorry, wrong thing. One more time.
Just a time check, we're at 5 minutes.
5 minutes left?
Yes.
Oh boy. All right, guys, doing an attempt here. Apparently not hitting it. All right, this is what I want is, sorry, here, pages and tasks. And reports and analysis, sorry. And now what we want to go is back into, here we go, GL registers as part of archive. So the trick here is it's the archive function, not the reports and analysis, which is also a bit confusing. There we go. All right, so what is this? Basically, every time you do a transactional post, every time you post, it will post who posted what and when. And therefore, you can use this to understand at what point, what transaction was posted, where did it come from, and where did it go to? And also the resulting GL entries that were created to and from are also tied to this as well. Okay, it's a good way to do an audit. Tip number 32. Let's talk about looking up item transaction detail for purchases. In this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the inventory transaction. Maybe your company uses average costing and you're concerned about purchasing over time. So let's do a quick search here. And what I want to do now is take a look for item transaction. Okay, so if you actually look for this, this was actually a tip that I was trying to focus on, because this is something that you could actually get to before quite easily, but it's actually now hidden. So you actually can't get to what used to be the item transaction detail report, and I'm just demonstrating through search that it's not possible. So to show you how you can actually get to it, you now actually have to go. And for whatever reason, Microsoft hid it. You have to go under Explore More Roles. That report and analysis filter that I showed earlier. And what you want to do is focus now on the inventory section. And what you want to do is find the inventory transaction detail. And of course, just give me a second here. I want to make sure I'm in the right spot. And it's actually the one under finance. All right, I apologize. I had this all laid out to find this one easy, but the trick here is you're looking for the inventory transaction detail, but it is in here. And I apologize, I won't be able to pull it up at this point. Let me jump ahead. How much time have we got?
We're at 1 minute to the top of the hour.
1 minute to top of the hour. All right. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to jump ahead to number 34, just because I think this one's going to be a little bit more interesting for some people. I'll squeeze one more in, and I apologize. Did an attempt here to get this done. What I want to do is focus on posting groups, not posting groups, sorry, to do aging. 35, run aging 3 ways. So what I want to do is let's look at aged accounts payable. And as you know here, you can actually run this and look at this aging in a number of different ways. What I want to focus here is on this aging method. A lot of people are not aware of this, that you can actually use this 3 ways, right? So due date is how overdue is the invoice? So you could select that. Otherwise, you could say transaction date. I want to know how long has it been since the invoice was posted? When was it committed to my system? Or you can do it by document date. And how long was has it been since the document was issued? So in this particular case, let me just take transaction date. Let me click preview. And there you go. If you look at the very top, you can actually see it says aged vendor balances. And in this particular case, this was aged by transaction date. All right, in light of time, I'm going to apologize to everybody. I didn't make it through all the way through. I had every intention to. So I would be happy to continue this at some other point. I'm going to have to see if I can actually get my system run faster. I actually have another machine where this ran a bit faster than it did today. So I do apologize. I didn't get through everything. So at this point, I'd like to kick it back to Andrew and to Claude. Perhaps maybe we can go to Q&A, and maybe there might be specific things that people want to see. And maybe I can focus on a few that maybe there's a lot of votes for.
All right, I'm going to share my screen in just 1 moment, and then we'll follow up and share some information with you as well. So if we don't get a chance to complete the Q&A today, you have some follow-up contacts so that you can get the most out of the time that you have available. So I will share my screen. And we had mentioned earlier that if we did run tight on time, that we would show and share follow-up contacts. We have Floyd's contact as well as mine and Claude's. So if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to one of the three of us. I do want to respect people's time, and I'm going to suggest that we wrap up for today and that we take the opportunity to invite Floyd to come back and share some more of the tips and tricks, because there was a lot of excellent content here, and hope you had a chance to get some good value out of it. We will wrap up. Save this recording. Thanks everyone for attending. Thank you very much, Floyd, for presenting, and look forward to connecting again next month. So keep an eye out for the next meetup session for February and March and throughout the year. Take care. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.